there's three ways people connect with angels. And by meaning connect, I mean really connect.
Scott Guerin, welcome to Passion Harvest. Really, really looking forward to our much needed conversation in the world right now. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate, and I checked out your website and your work, and it's such an impressive service that you're providing. So I just appreciate that, and for you to invite me on.
It's my pleasure. Aside from other things, you're an angel expert.
That's a good, I say jokingly, I say I'm an angel expert compared to somebody who doesn't know much about angels.
Okay.
I mean, there's no degree in it, but I certainly, and my spiritual journey has been through organized religion and science and psychology and trying to get and understand that connection that we have to spirit in whatever way we have. And then the last phase of that is I call it modern day angels, which in my book, the Looking for Angels book, which came out late last year, that's exactly how the book is laid out. Religion, science, psychology, and then modern day angels with my co-author, Nicole Bigley, who is an intuitive. And we kind of present how to connect with spirit team, etc.
Well, a big congratulations on your book, Scott. I want to get
Thank you.
into it later because I love how you said, you've been spiritual all your life and searching, and it didn't come from birth. It happened in the
Right.
last couple of years.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, my take on this is, and this is from, spending years and, this, I've always had this passion from when I was 13 years old. I just was zeroed in on the sermons of our Lutheran church, and that didn't really work out for me. Then I went into the conservative Christian movement. Because it provided all the answers, that I was looking for, and kind of presented like a personal relationship. If you remember, the born again movement, and I guess it's still around. They say have a personal relationship with Jesus, and that's what got me. And then to find out that they had it all figured out as far as this is what you do, and then you're forgiven, and then you're good, and then after a while, I saw that that was a very kind of narrow way of looking at things. And certainly those people who didn't hear that message, didn't deserve to be uh, cast aside. So then, I went through Presbyterianism and things. And even that, I was an elder in my church and taught Sunday school, but my life still fell apart. And then at one point I said, all right, forget religion. I still want to connect. But that's when I dove in headfirst into psychology because, that's all where we understand everything. That's where we create the reality, where we know things, and then kind of worked my way through there through meditation, studying that for many years. And then in the last year and a half, started to really get into modern day angels, and connecting with them. And what I believe is that there's three ways people connect with angels. And by meaning connect, I mean really connect. I mean have whether it's an ongoing, like some of my friends, Nicole, certainly a co-author of the book. I mean, she has an ongoing dialogue, and I've known this, working with her on the book. We'll be thinking like, what was the name? What was Siddhara, the first Buddha, what was his name? And then she'll say, "Oh, Siddhara Gautama," proper spelling or pronunciation. And she said, "Thank you." I'm like, "Well, who'd you thank?" She said, "Oh, Archangel Michael just told me that answer." Like, so it's that kind of real time interaction. Um, and whether you have that real-time interaction where there's a presence and an interactive moment, or if you have the more subtler, there's a spirit team behind you, to help you throughout the day. And then maybe your gift is, or your sensitivity is more clairvoyant, where, the pictures and images come into your head through your spirit team, guiding you that way, whatever it may be, whatever level of depth your interaction with angels can be. Um, I think there's three ways to get there. The first way is that you're born with it. Many people and many intuitives, they like, yeah, I knew it from the get-go, from as early as I can remember, or even sometimes past. People remember being incarnated into the earth, onto the earth, and then having that connection from early on. The second way is unfortunately through trauma. Uh, People go through severe hardships, sometimes even abuse. It pushes them to connect out of maybe necessity, out of survival, however it may be, to connect that way. And then the third way, I say, like the rest of us, we have to learn, and we can learn. And it's a slower process. It's not instantaneous, but we can learn. And that is what I really doubled down on this past year, because, have you heard of Carolyn Mice, medical intuitive, or Miss
No, I haven't.
MISS? She's a medical intuitive, pretty popular. And she kind of brought it into popularity by having a lot of conferences and stuff where she would like read someone and see how they, what issues they may have in their bodies and such like that, and then verified it with the medical profession, which is kind of cool. But at the end of all her talks, she'd say like, everyone has this gift, everyone's a psychic. And I'd always say like, shut up. I'm like, I can't do that. There's not a psychic bone in my body. I gotta do. But after learning and getting to know a number of intuitives, and over the last year, um, say, yes, you can do that. We just need to look at life a little differently, open our minds, open our hearts, and develop it. It is like a muscle, which a lot of intuitives say it is like a muscle. You have to practice. And so I took a mediumship course, which was phenomenal, just maybe 6 months or 8 months ago. And I was just shocked, like, wow, this stuff really works. Like I can really do this. And then just in my life in general, learning how to be open, learning how to meditate, learning, trusting myself and trusting the inputs that I get. That's what we can do for those of us that don't have the innate, I call them hardwired, hardwired abilities that were always there, that we can learn. And it's a matter of attuning ourselves, raising our frequency, if you follow me on that, to be able to reach on the other side of the veil and into the fourth dimension, or that dimension. But so that's kind of where I'm at, as far as abilities and connecting with angels and such.
Wonderful. Let's just backtrack. So for the audience, who or what are angels?
Okay, so angels are energetic beings. Now there is some debate about, do they have free will or not, or are they just locked in, to rolling out, the life lessons that we all have signed up for, um, or rolling out, the love and the light that God, universe, source, whatever it may be, is moving out, and they're just to do the higher source, higher self bidding in that, and also in helping us to get to our goal, which is to understand that we are love and we are source. And so, do they have a choice? We don't know. But anyway, that's what they're here to do, is to help us along our path. Now, the ancient texts in sacred text of the religions, like the Hebrew Bible, New Testament for Christians, the Muslim texts, all say, and this is one thing that we all agree on, is that the angels, when the physical universe was created, Um, certainly the physical universe and all the physical things came into being, but angel, and including us, we were created, placed in our physical bodies, but we are a part of Source, right? But the angels are a separate creation. They're separate species in a sense from humans. So they never were incarnated. Um, they, are outside of time. So they are eternal to some extent, except they had there was a point in time where they didn't exist, and there's a point in time where they did. They're created beings. So that's in general that realm, the angelic realm. And there are certainly levels within that, as we probably, you could guess, is that, guardian angels, and then you look into the sacred scriptures, and you have, archangels and powers and principalities and seraphim and cherubim and all those kind of different levels in there.
People often ask this, in your opinion, do we all have a guardian angel?
Yeah, well, that is, it's not up for debate. There's a lot of people that believe in that. Certainly, the Christian tradition, the Catholics believe that we're all assigned, a guardian angel and one, maybe one. But the consensus is that we do have guardian angels, and what the difference is a key difference, is that our guardian angels are with us when we start thinking and preparing for this life, right? Before we incarnate, we have a meeting with our spiritual team and spiritual elders, so to speak, and our guardian angels. And we, okay, this is what Luisa is going to do in this life, and this is what which you agreed to, and like this is that. And at that point, you give the guardian angels permission to intervene in your life without your permission. Meaning, like, if there's a random car accident that might have happened, the guardian angel can move that, get that out of your way without asking. It's the other angels, like the guardian angels, um, and the archangels, I'm sorry, and then other angels, and then ascended masters, which are also in play. They have to be asked. It's the law of free will that's operating on this planet right now. And so they're just waiting so it's good and bad. It's good because we have our free will. We can do whatever we want. We're not going to be coerced in doing something here or there. But the bad thing is we forget that we have an incredible spiritual team right by us, like dying to help us. But they can't until we ask them in. And that's what the important point of is in asking them to intercede, to help me, whatever we're doing, to help you get to where you want to go, help you with the meeting, help you find a parking spot. It's those things that could, seem to be trivial, but that's what they're here to do.
So how do we ask?
Well, the simple answer is to ask, you just put it out there. You can, you can go into a ritualistic type of thing if you need to have that. But if just going throughout your day, you can just stop and say, like today, coming on to this podcast, I say, you know, um, I just send a little prayer out. My guides and angels, please help me speak your words during this interview with Luisa today. I mean, that is it. And so, it was a friend of mine said, "So you mean everything that you say is not your responsibility?" I was like, "Well, it's maybe not that, but I'm certainly guided by thoughts and maybe images and maybe ideas that pop into my head, and sometimes I might even channel a little bit, and we all do this. You kind of let go of yourself, and you find yourself just speaking and doing things that's in the flow, so to speak. You're allowing spirit to work with you through your angels and your guides, as well. So mainly asking. I find, and I think this is for me, this is a non-starter in your life, is to have some sort of meditation. It may be just going for a walk outside. And maybe I'm big on music. I love meditation music that really sets me into kind of a different atmosphere. It may be chanting. Um, and and you can have kind of general meditations of just kind of connecting and feeling the presence, or you can have have a meditation practice where you go through a list of steps. Like in our book, we have I think 7 meditations to do, and they're just guidelines. There's lots of meditations out there for specific things, but some people it helps, and for me too, it helps sometimes to have a visualization, like picture yourself sitting down, picture a golden light coming down, picture your energy going through your feet. It helps that visualization. So whatever works for you is what you need to do. And a friend of mine, and I was like, one time I was like, I got to meditate more. And I found myself missing time, or like, I didn't want to do it, running late. And a friend of mine, very insightful friend, said, "Well, why don't you? Well, what do you want to get out of this?" I go, "Well, that connection. I love that connection, the peace. Sometimes information, sometimes clear ideas. Sometimes I may see things. I love all that." And he goes, "Well, just go for that. Like, don't worry about the time. If you want to do it, you'll find time in the day." And I thought that was very good, at least for me,
Yes.
I'm semi-structured, but I like
And I think
to
we
have
all
a bit
want
of
that
both.
as well. I mean, just what you mentioned, that's what we're all looking for.
Yes, yeah, I say we are in a. I love the analogy. A reality show, reality TV, the TV reality that we have. It's like everything is game and buzzers and whistles, and we're getting pulled. We have the radio, we have the TV, we have all these messages, all our thoughts that they just feed, and our mind is constantly going, and so we have to unplug from that to be able to listen, to what spirit is saying to us through that.
How do you receive your information? Do you see the angels? Do you sense them? Do you feel them? I'm answering your questions.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Sometimes I get a very strong feeling. Um, now in our book we didn't introduce the topic, but we focus on a bit of spirit team. And our spirit team is comprised of, our guardian angels, whatever archangels are connected with us. It could be ascended masters. It could be a deity. Like for me, I was, I kind of, when I left the conservative Christian religion, I just, my connection with Jesus was severed because I just didn't like that. I didn't like the message. But now, decades later, I'm coming back to connecting with the real Jesus, the that is not the ones shown on TV, or shown in the religions. But so you may have a deity on your team, you may have a past loved one that's on your team. And so about 6 months ago, I was going down a road, and so I had a dear friend in when I was growing up. We used to have a family friend. He was a teacher at our high school. My brothers and I were all into wrestling. He was our wrestling coach, and he was a true teacher at his heart. I just learned so much from him. I took all the classes I could with him. He took a bunch of us on bicycle rides in the summers, and I just learned so much. And one day I was talking with him. He goes, "Hey, I was at a restaurant by your house," and I go, "Well, why didn't you call me? It's a mile away. Why didn't you call me?" He goes, "I was busy, blah blah blah." About a year later, he passed by mesothelioma, and he died. That was in 2015. And so fast forward to about 6 months ago, my wife and I were riding down the road. We passed the restaurant where he was referencing, and as clear as a bell in my mind, I heard in his voice, "We were there. I told you about that." And I'm like, his name was Bob. I go, "Bob, is that you?" and there's nothing there other than a presence, like he was sitting in the back seat of the car. And so I welcome it, like, thank you for being part of my team, thank you for being in my life. And sometimes I'll be in a situation and I'll hear, well, I'll remember something that he said, and it's like anybody would say, yeah, that's what Bob would have said. Like it would be just a truism that he would say. But other times, again, in his voice, I would hear him comment on something that's in that specific moment, like present time. And so between that and then just feeling him, like right now, I feel him on my right side, right here, and my other, I feel. And sometimes I have a specific form um, of an angel, and sometimes just general beings, like Archangel Gabriel is kind of my favorite in a sense. Archangel of communication is with me. So you have a presence, a feeling, of that. So it's not, so it can vary. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And not so, of course, we're talking about angels today, but it's not only about angels. It's about connecting with, as you've referenced a few
Yes.
times, spirit team, loved ones
Yes.
who have transitioned, because many people are searching to connect with loved ones in
Yes. Yes.
grief. Yes.
Um, Yeah, and that can be now. So within the psychic realm, I don't know, I'm sure you know. So the psychic term is the umbrella term, and then underneath that you have, mediums, which sort of specialize in connecting and talking with loved ones. Um, well, I was a little hesitant on bringing this up, but what the heck? Lately I've been curious, well, my whole life been curious about, star nations, as they're called, aliens, civilizations on other planets. um Personally, I believe that they are our brothers and sisters. Instead of living in a tribe in Africa, that we learn about, these are people, civilizations in other areas. So they could be part of our spirit team. Now, to be honest, there's named ones. You can look all into it. I don't want to get in too much, because a lot of people, they're like just freaking out about the angels and that they can be in our lives, let alone other spiritual beings, like the Palladians or the Syrians. But you talk to people, you can easily find a bunch of authors on the internet and really delve into that, and how they're connected to maybe the ancient sacred sites on the planet, Egypt, etc. So just wanted to throw that out there for someone who's for the inquiring mind.
Thank you for sharing that. There is so much out there that's there, but that we don't see with our physical eyes.
Yes, yes. And that's it. We have to remember that we are just kind of like it, we're kind of like a robot in the sense, like, if you have a robot made of yourself and you're watching it on your, smartphone, uh and making it move around, whatever, we're kind of like that. And that our eyes are like cameras, and our ears are like microphones, and we have those sensory devices, and we're in there, kind of watching the whole thing. And so our eyes, and people would probably know that our eyes we can only see 0.004% of all the electromagnetic energy that's bombarding us, radio waves, um, TV, other types of radiation, and so for some reason, some people think that might be by design, that our brains are like a filter that filters out a lot of extra stuff, and keeps us just on the physical. but through practice and through training and through being aware, we can kind of open up our minds and our senses a little bit to, like I say, reach and, as someone said, dance in the fourth dimension, which is, so the physical is third dimension, the fourth dimension and others are the non-physical. And we can reach there, as well as angels and past loved ones can reach down, in a sense, into our physical world at times and play that interplay, go back and forth.
I love I can feel your passion. I love it, Scott.
Thank you.
If you had to put it into a few tips, 3 or 4 tips, how to connect with angels, loved ones that have transitioned, or our spirit team, what 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, just for real simplicity for the audience.
Mhm. All right. So step one would be to do whatever you can to have a meditative practice, uh, thing that you like to do, whatever it may be. When I took the mediumship course, um, the instructor said throughout the week, we met once a week, and she had exercises to do, but she said, try, like see if there's a prayer group, like it doesn't have to be religious, like something during your week that you can kind of, uh, put yourself in a giving state of mind. I mean, it's not necessary, but it's like not just you have a busy life, busy life, busy life, and then Saturday 9 to 10, I'm going to meditate. It's good to be able to bring in to have a meditative, like a way of life, like slow down a little bit, turn notifications off on your smartphone, don't watch as much TV, whatever it may be. That plus a meditative practice is important as step one, because then you're emptying your mind, you're quieting your mind. And then the next is to ask, please, I would like to contact my brother who just passed. Please show me signs, or show me or help me get to him, and and so you put that intention out there, and then you trust. The third step is trust that something is going to happen, that something will come to mind. Like it could be something unexpected. That's why you have to kind of quiet your mind and put the request out, and then trust that maybe your loved one will send a butterfly, that'll be unusually hanging around, or maybe you'll see, maybe the radio will pop on a song that you two like to listen to. Or maybe your friend will introduce you to a medium that's coming into town and you can go. So that's the way spirit will work in a lot of different ways. Um, and so then the fourth thing would be to act, to take action. If there is a medium in town, do that. If there is a certain meditative, weekend, kind of session on how to do those types of things. um, so those would be the ways, and then you can connect with loved ones. And then in our book we have a listing of all the angels, our ascended masters and deities, and in those lists we have a description of them and what they're generally known for. Like Archangel Michael is, power, protection. Archangel Gabriel, communication, and then you could go all the way through, there's probably about 25 entities in there. And then you can call on specific ones. People who are more advanced and more experienced in the angel connection type of thing start looking for specific and asking for specific connections with um, specific beings.
So interesting. So interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Um, just a question. In your opinion, well, this is your show today. Why are we here in our humanness?
Why are we here? Now,
Why are
that's
we
a
here?
quite
in the
It's
context of
good.
time. Sorry, my
Yes, no,
dog's
I know, I
snoring in
know,
the
I know.
background.
No, no, it's just like, why are we here? Well, okay, let me. So, in general, what I have learned over my years is that we're here, and it takes some people don't believe this, but um, we are here for a purpose that we plan, each lifetime. That we are here. We're eternal beings having a temporary physical experience. And then the psychologist years ago experienced the first past life regression session with one of his patients, um, Gary Weiss, and and resulted in the book Many Lives, Many
Hmm.
Masters. So that's probably the only, I air quote scientific evidence of past lives, is through hypnosis, which, it at least it's something anyway, and it's pretty consistent among past life therapists. But any case, what they've learned through that is that we, at the beginning, as I mentioned earlier, at the beginning of our lives incarnate, in between physical lives, we have a moment of time, we have some sort of set time, a gap where we're reviewing with our spiritual seniors, I guess we would say, what we learned on this past life and what we want to learn in the future life. And you put the scenario together. You pick your parents. And if you heard of that, ever heard of that statement that we pick our parents, we pick the situation, and which, and then we come in and go through and learn. Um, Now, that's a tough thing sometimes because, especially for people who have had traumatic lives and families. I kind of got into this once and I'm like, oh, this is really great. And I was talking to my neighbor and I knew it, but I forgot it. And I said, yeah, we all pick our parents, we all pick our life plans and what we're going to learn. And she started shaking and she says, you mean I planned to be abused for 15 years? And I'm like, oh my God, like,
Oh
how
gosh.
stupid should I
Yeah.
be? But people will still, those that are into the idea will say, like, yeah, yeah. And as much as it hurt, there's lessons there. But in any case, that is why we're here, is to learn and remember two things. One, that we are source. We are a part of God. We're not just we're not a creation of God like the angels or the physical planet. We are a part of God. We are we are part of, and we are love, Um, and that's our journey, back to get back to that state. The philosopher Rumi said, we are all
I love
here.
him. Sorry.
Yeah, we're all here to walk each other home, right? Have you heard? I just heard this a few months ago. So our purpose is to not only fulfill our own journey back to that experience of feeling a part of love and of source, but bringing others there as well. And we can just do that as much as we can, on this lifetime. And then somebody told me recently, like, I don't know if you're familiar with the idea of an awakening, that we're in a
Yes.
period of awakening, right?
Yes.
Lots of data, by the way, to show that, trends in religion, trends in psychic services, trends in meditation have tripled in the U.S. in the past 20 years. But in any case, there's an awakening, and that oh my God, I forgot where I was going with this idea. That we are
The concept of
oh
awakening,
oh
that
yes,
we're going through some sort of shift.
yeah. So going to a shift, and then someone and I was talking with a medium, and I said, I feel like I'm here to be a part of that shift, to tell people. And she said, yeah, you might not see the shift may not happen in our lifetimes, so you might continue that, like, in your next lifetime. I'm like, well, that's an interesting concept. Like,
Very
I hadn't thought of
interesting.
that. And I could kind of see, I mean, giant trends don't change overnight or within a lifetime. Sometimes they take, you know, 100 years
Well,
to
our
roll out.
actual life is so short in the larger picture of
Yes.
things, really. It's
Yes.
like a blink of
Yes.
an eye. I have to ask you, when you mentioned this, why angels and why now? Does this relate to the shift or
Yes.
the awakening?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I feel I'm very much drawn to, because of the, and because of my own life. Like I went through religion. I needed to, to find that connection with spirit, with God. And in the religions that I attended, always fell short with that. And then, I kind of launched out into finding connections with spirit outside of organized religion, and finding, my whole life opening up after that. And I'm like, and the more I talk to people, I'm like, yeah, that's it. We were raised in a church, and, and that's happening. And then you look at the numbers, as I mentioned, the numbers in the United States, 30% of Americans do not affiliate themselves with religion. And that's been a strong trend in the past 10 years. And they're saying that in the way that's growing now in the US, those not affiliated with religion will outnumber those within like 20 years. And then worldwide, and sorry, my dog is barking here,
That's
but
fine. Mine's snoring in the background.
but there's worldwide trends in that transition. And so that's what I'm thinking. You know what? And then this one question is what really got me, is like, where do people go if they're not in church,
That
if they're not
connection and
learning?
community, which is
Right.
wonderful connection for people.
Yes, it is. And if they're moving away from that, then where do they go? Where do they learn?
Mm.
And then I wanted to, just do something to provide a resource among many other resources out there, that can help people find their own way, and learn to trust in their own, the divinity within themselves. To find that, that's all you need. That's your guiding star.
Where's the best place for people to connect with you, Scott?
Yeah, so my website is angelintraining.org. And the book, Looking for Angels, A Guide to Understanding and Connecting with Angels. Um, Award-winning book, by the way.
Yay,
Yeah,
congratulations.
we won the coalition of coalition of visionary resources. That might be backwards, but anyway. Um, and that has its own web. We can buy the book in, yeah, Amazon, anywhere books are sold. And it also has a website itself called lookingforangelsbook.com.
I will leave a link below for people to connect.
Yeah. Thank you.
Um, Scott, I love your passion and your awakening and your beautiful connection with angels and all the other dimensions. Is there something else you'd like to share with the Passion Harvest audience that I haven't asked you on a final note?
I think one topic that's come up for me lately is, guidance in uncertain times.
Mm.
What can we do? Um, because the world doesn't look. They say like, oh, an awakening, and everyone's gonna get it, and we'll realize that we're all connected, and there'll be no fear. I'm like, well, have you seen the news lately? Like, there's no. And then they talk about the storm before the calm, and that with this transformation and awakening, there is going to be a turbulent time. So in those times, what can we remember? And what can we do? And the thing that I've gotten is that from the angelic realm, that our our awakening is set in stone. Like, there's there's something big behind that, about more spiritual agendas and monumental things in the process of the expansion of the universe. But in general, the human species is set in stone, that we will ascend to a much better place. So their long-term hope is that that will happen. The short-term hope, when things are still kind of chaotic, is that we can connect. Like I mentioned, we can connect to God, to spirit, to our higher selves, whatever we want to call it. Um, that we can connect by remembering who we are, that we are part of God, we are part of love, and try and unplug from the world around us that constantly tells us the opposite. Um, so that's the short-term hope, that our connections, our meditations, friends, community can help us get through these turbulent times as we await for a larger global awakening to occur.
There is lots of, I love your connection with the angelic realm, and yes, the world one could say it's in a crazy place at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm just continuing here. I just want to ask you, because so many people talk about fear and we need to be afraid of what's coming and people are uncertain. What's your advice?
Well, love is the absence of fear. I mean, fear is not in love, it's
Yes.
not a component of love. And once that fear melts away, then nothing can, uh, disturb us in that sense. So, if we're connected, I mean, if we really believe we're connected, that means that we are eternal beings, that we are a part of the creator of the universe, and that we can be love ourselves, how we treat people, how we talk with them. And then you just make a decision to that nothing else matters. Nothing, we need not fear anything else, even
Yeah.
though, what's going on. I posted, I'm on Instagram at Scott Guerin author. Um, and I made a post that was given to me. I was just given me deep hope. And it's a phrase going around that's been around for a while, but I was just led to put deep hope is the quiet optimistic being is a quiet optimism that is not tied to lab results, news broadcasts, or political outcomes.
Oh my gosh, that's so true right now.
It, I know, yeah, it's so good, but that's what if because love, God, our lives are far beyond what this is right now. It is a
Yes.
blink. And if we keep our eye on the prize, on the bigger aspect, we can still walk through this life without being jerks and without reacting to, wacky things, by having a deep sense of peace and love and compassion in our lives.
Absolutely agree. Scott, thank you so much for being on Passion Harvest. A wonderful, wonderful way to end the show.
Oh, great. Well, thank you very much, and have a good rest of your day.
You
And
too.
all right, take care.
Thanks, Scott. Bye-bye.
Bye.